Welcome to the Seat 14 podcast, a different perspective on college basketball told by those who lived it. Join us as we bring you insider views, analysis, breakdowns, and predictions from one of the most storied programs in the country, from someone who saw it all from the end of the bench, the 14th seat. In association with the Field of 68 and alongside producer Jordan Barber, I'm your host, Todd Lanter, and this is Seat 14. Welcome into Seat 14, episode 19. Today is Monday, March 28th. I assume you'll get this out tonight. So,
yeah.
We are going a little bit off kilter.
I'll probably set it to release tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Now that I think about it.
So Tuesday, March 29th.
There you go.
We're going a little bit off kilter as we no longer have to abide by Kentucky's game schedule, considering we shit the bed in the first round of this tournament. But as it stands now, it's the Blue Blood Invitational this coming weekend for the Final Four down in New Orleans, and Kentucky wasn't invited. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so we last night just had probably the most iconic Oscars live TV moment in quite a few years with the Will Smith and Chris Rock incident. Mm-hmm. My question for you, I feel bad about the Blue Blood thing. Mm-hmm. You know, that's a given. My question for you.
So did you just completely do a 180 on my question and pose one back to me?
Yes,
all right.
But given the Kentucky's status right now, are we the Will Smith or Chris Rock of this equation?
We're neither.
We're one of them, dude.
We're Jada with the one getting joked on sitting in the audience watching from home.
Okay, that was a nice twist.
I mean, that moment's pretty ridiculous. It's pretty nuts that this is where we're at in society these days, but what are you going to do? So, as far as the Final Four goes, I mean, literally, other than maybe Louisville or Tennessee, this is about as bad as it could be. And as far as who's in the Final Four, and honestly, it's probably worse than either of those because even though they're closer to home rivalries, you know, an SEC team and an in-state rivalry team, neither of them have accomplished what these programs that are in the Final Four this year have.
Right.
You know, I made the comment before we started rolling that Jay Wright has been equally as imposing of a program as Kentucky was from 2009 to 2015. Jay Wright from 16 to currently.
Yeah.
With what he's done in you know, as far as win percentage.
It's been remarkable.
Advancements to the Final Four, national titles. He's running one hell of a program. And then you got, you got Duke with Coach K's last hurrah, rolling through New Orleans. You know,
absolutely
they couldn't have scripted it any other way.
I know you disagree with me. I think there is no way that Duke doesn't win it all now.
So Villanova, Duke, let me get through this, then we'll come back. Then North Carolina just took the most tournament wins and the most Final Four appearances over Kentucky. And Kansas took the most wins in college basketball history over Kentucky. So literally the four programs that pose Kentucky the biggest threat are in the Final Four, and we were sent home by a 15 seed in the first round, who give a lot of credit to that team. Made a phenomenal run, really put their school on the map. What it's going to do for them financially is really, really cool. They're going to have a lot better of a recruiting budget. Unfortunately, it's going to cost them their head coach, as he's going to.
That's the one thing about them that I think I stand by. I don't like all of the using St. Peter's victories post the Kentucky one over Murray State and Purdue. I don't like using that to justify Kentucky's loss. I think it's unjustifiable.
I'm not justifying it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you are.
Yeah.
People have been. Yeah. Lots of people on Twitter have been. I disagree wholeheartedly. But the one thing I will say is Shaheen is one hell of a coach.
He's a great coach. But I'm not justifying. I want to clarify. I'm not justifying the loss at all. I am, however, I got to see, like, I wasn't watching them as a unit when we were playing Kentucky. I was watching us. Right? Like, I'm taking in the game as a whole, but I'm analytically picking apart what Kentucky was doing or failing to do. The last two games where they got to play Murray State and then Purdue, I was watching the way that they were approaching the game, what they were doing to kind of muck things up. They were taking everybody out of what they wanted to try to accomplish, and they did it to Kentucky too. They took us out of our game. They took us away from everything we'd worked on to try to, like, they're a team that's not like a blue blood team, a lot of times you can make adaptations and changes to in-game sets, but you can't just completely reinvent yourself for one matchup most of the time, right? At least those coaches can't. They've been, they've built their career on certain coaching patterns and things that they abide by.
Oh yeah.
St. Peter's can.
Right. That's a good point.
And they did. And they did it. They completely reinvented themselves from game to game, and their entire goal was to go out and muck up the offense, take us out of what we were trying to do. North Carolina and Hubert Davis, give them a lot of credit, did a similar thing to St. Peter's. They iced a ton of ball screens because St. Peter's had done such a good job of getting around that corner and getting downhill. They iced these ball screens and forced the point guard to take the ball into the paint, down into the trees, where they were able to defend them. And, the result was a lot of missed close opportunities for St. Peter's. And they weren't able to just find the easy shots that they'd been getting before. And defensively, they were no match for them posting it up and just punching it into the paint the way that we should have done it.
Right.
We should have put their little
biggest
asses on our back and gone at their neck.
That's what I'm saying.
And North Carolina did a good job on both ends of the floor controlling the narrative.
Teams like that, like St. Peter's, who are less talented or whatever you want to say, like less major recruits, I think often they can end up in a track meet with a giant school like Kentucky or UNC. But ultimately, just that accumulating factor of the other team having such superior athletes, having so much more talent, usually wins out. Even if it is a track meet and both teams are actually taking each other's best shot. That's what I felt happened with UNC. Like, it wasn't a track meet. St. Peter's got destroyed. But just over time, you could just tell the accumulation of having to deal with Baycott and Manick and Love, just became too much for them. And I feel like that's something that's pretty easy to rely on when you have the caliber of players that Kentucky, Duke, UNC has year in and year out, and to allow St. Peter's to get us out of our game and just.
Well, I think that's part of it. This, like you said, we should have been able to rely on our size and ability to finish in the paint, regardless of how bad of a shooting night you're having, regardless of the way the game's being called. Those are things that you can control. Getting to the foul line, knocking down free throws. Those are things that you can control. That's the one thing, it's the one aspect of the game, free throws, that you don't need anyone else to do. Yeah. You don't even need access to a gym half the time. You can go to an outdoor court and shoot free throws. It's repetition and rhythm and confidence and, doing the same routine every time. Like I feel like I'm educating elementary students when you talk about free throws. Like it's not something that you should have to practice anymore. You just have to maintain what you've been doing for years and step up and knock them down. We missed 5 out of 6 free throws in overtime. It's the little things, and you can blame, certain decisions we made from a coaching aspect. You can blame who's on the floor and the rotations that we had, but it all comes back to this. If we'd have just done those simple things, we'd have beat them.
Right.
It's that simple. And
so how do you fail to do those simple things?
I think we just got down a rabbit hole. I really do. I really think that the
pressure.
Yeah, I think that once we got punched in the mouth a little bit, that we were like, oh, I didn't know they could swing like that. Yeah. I didn't know they had that kind of reach.
And
I didn't know they had that kind of power.
Yeah.
Instead
of looking at it like, Matt Jones brought this up on KSR. Do you remember the "We Is Kentucky" moment?
Mm-mm.
So the 2012 or 2013-ish Thunder, amazing NBA team, went to the finals, came to Kentucky for a practice during a lockout year.
I remember that.
So there was a moment where Kentucky's, rotation of college players beat the NBA team in their first game, I think.
Yep.
And I think Marcus Teague hit the game-winning shot, or someone hit a game-winning shot, and they were walking away, and one of the Thunder's players said something, and he was like, "We don't give a F, we is Kentucky."
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was an attitude that I think we had for a long time under Cal. Swaggy Cal.
Yeah.
I think that was like a trickle-down effect.
Yeah.
Instead of taking St. Peter's, little gut punch that they gave us at the beginning, where we were like, okay, this is actually going to be a game.
Yeah. Instead
of taking that and saying, okay, we as Kentucky, we don't care, we're going to win, it was like a complete
I agree.
Backstep.
It was a meltdown.
On that.
I'm totally with you, right? One of the references that we used when I was playing a lot was getting punched in the mouth, because you're gonna get your best shot. Everybody's best shot is Kentucky, and I'm people are sick of hearing that, but it's the truth. St. Peter's was hyped to get to play against us. And they knew if they came out and punched us in the mouth that, you're going to respond one of two ways. And
they played the odds.
And unfortunately, we crumbled.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, I said this, I even said it on the episode. We recorded that episode, the pre-March Madness episode, the day of the game. Yeah, we recorded it that morning. 3 hours. Literally right before it. And I even made the comment, anybody can beat anybody in March. It's any given night, right? Like you hear that 1,000 times. And I said, it doesn't matter who can beat who any night. It's can we win 6 in a row? And I even made the mistake of overlooking St. Peter's. I was talking specifically about Murray State because I knew we weren't going to put another episode out until after the Murray State game. And I specifically said, Murray State can beat us. Yeah. They're capable of beating us. I honestly didn't think that St. Peter's could. And that's not a shot at St. Peter's. That's because I thought, you know what? We might not be able to win our way, but we're going to win this game.
Somehow.
Like, we will just put Oscars back to the basket and let him go at them every time. And I don't care if he uses all
Keon,
5 fouls.
Jacob.
Yeah, everybody. But I'm saying I don't care if Oscar fouls out with offensive charges going through everybody's chest in the paint. Go down there, make them blow the whistle, get to the foul line, knock down your free throws, put them away.
Something he had done most of the year.
They were not going to score enough points to beat us if we can consistently do that every time down the floor. But they got us into that same rhythmic way of thinking that has been toxic to this team all year long. And we were taking bad shots. We weren't defending the way that we're capable of defending. And we literally, it was a David versus Goliath thing, and we just kind of laid down. And, I don't want to spend most of this episode talking about what Kentucky's done, but that's, like you said, an attitude change that has to start somewhere. And it's not ever going to be acceptable to respond the way we did, because maybe we get past St. Peter's, maybe we get past Murray State. Purdue would have kicked our teeth in if we'd have responded that way. And St. Peter's didn't. St. Peter's was up against Goliath with St. Peter's with Purdue, literally with a 7-footer, a 6'10" dude. I mean, they probably had, I bet roster combined, I bet Purdue was 700 pounds heavier than them.
Probably.
I mean, just outrageous odds. But they knew
they just made
here's how we're gonna maybe we can't beat them this way. Maybe they're gonna take some chances here, but they're playing chess. They're like, all right, well, when you do this, we're gonna do this. Here's how we're gonna respond.
That was a really good point you made, where you were like, a consistent theme with a lot of the blue bloods, and by God, the most consistent theme with Kentucky basketball especially has been an unwillingness to change, or not necessarily unwillingness, but a sticking to your game plan, sticking to the same plan year in, year out. It is not going to change. It has always worked. It will always work. St. Peter's, complete opposite of that. They can go into every single individual game, similar to the way that an NBA team would prepare for a playoff series against a different team, and know, no, this is what we're going to do. We're going to switch this up. We are not going to maintain this same speed that we have for so long. And I think that's a philosophical shift in basketball, and a shift that we need to see here at Kentucky. I think you kind of laid it out right there. It's unknowingly.
I knew what I was saying, but I mean, you're hammering on it a little more, and you're right. It's Cal has, he's got principles that he lives by, that he's coached by, that he's built his Hall of Fame career doing. The game is changing. That doesn't necessarily mean that he needs to go away from anything in particular that he's doing, but it means that in a situation like that, we have to make adjustments. Let me take a second to tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with BetRivers yet, now's the time, because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. What sets them apart, though, is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season tipping off, get in on the action by going to BetRivers.com today, or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-GAMBLER. The problem was St. Peter's was willing to reinvent themselves entirely on a game-by-game basis in order to try to advance to this tournament. Now, it's easy for us to sit back after the fact and play armchair quarterback. If I'm looking at Kentucky's roster against that St. Peter's team, I'm going to think, well, I don't want to take what's been working for this team and go in an entirely different direction in order to get past a 15 seed, and then try to transition gears back to what we were doing before for a Purdue or somebody like that. There's a lot to go that's to be said with that, but at the same time, there's several occurrences where you're like, all right, we need a basket, punch it in the paint and go through his chest, and if it works, we do it a couple more times and we put them away because they can't withstand that. They were not deep enough, long enough, athletic enough, big enough to withstand some of the simplistic basketball things that we could have thrown at them. Now, again, we're playing devil's advocate sitting back, 2 weeks later. Purdue beat some other phenomenal teams and phenomenal coaches in both Murray State and Purdue. And while we're talking about it, let's kind of flip sides of the bracket over here and go to the Midwest. We watched Kansas beat Miami last night, and they gave them they beat them by 26 points. They were down 5 or 7 at halftime.
Close game for the first half.
And at halftime, I was saying the same thing, the opposite rather, about Miami. And I think Miami is phenomenally coached. And I thought before the game that in order for Miami to beat Kansas, they were going to have to slow them down and make it a lot different offensively than it had shown me in the first 20 minutes. By the time halftime rolls around, I was sitting there looking at Maria's brother-in-law. We're sitting there watching the game together, and I was like, Larinaga changed it up completely. He's running with them. He wants to run with them. He's like, all right, we know they're going to try to run with us. Let's beat them at their own game. And they did. Now, with that said, Bill Self comes out in the second half, makes the adjustments necessary, and puts them away quick. They went from Kansas was down 5 or 7, I can't remember what it was at halftime, to up 15 in the second half in 6 minutes.
So I didn't realize how early that game was, so I missed the first half. I was like, oh, how nice.
Miami was running with them. They
winning,
literally looked at the way Kansas had been playing, and they're saying, okay, they've been successful getting up and down, right? We can either try to throw this at them and jumble them up, or let's play the way they want to play. And we're faster. We're more athletic. Let's get up and down. Let's do it. And they did. But again, Kansas made the adjustments at halftime, and it completely changed the way that the second half was approached. And Miami, either ran out of steam or I'm not even quite sure what they did differently.
I just noticed a lot of turnovers.
I was going to say, they forced, I can't remember the kid's name for Miami, the point guard that's transferred everywhere. He actually transferred from Kansas at one point, I think. He's played at 4 schools.
Yeah.
But he had 3 turnovers in 2 minutes. And they were just throwing different things at him. But again, a lot of credit to Bill Self. I hate saying that. But Miami, kind of changed up what they needed to do to face this juggernaut. And then Kansas took it on the mouth, took it on the chin in the first half, made their halftime adjustments, and came out and did what they're so good at doing, and ends up winning the game by 26. And really, it was high, and really it was bigger than that. It was a bigger margin than that, but they took their foot off the gas towards the end a little bit.
It just sucks to watch UNC and Kansas handle underdogs the way that you're supposed to handle underdogs.
After we beat them by 30 or whatever it was.
Yeah, see that, man, that just blows my mind. I don't understand. College basketball is so weird.
Yeah, well, that's why we love it.
Yeah, it'll never make sense. But what does make sense is our new sponsor.
Oh,
yeah,
good transition.
Makes
well
sense.
Done. All right, good transition. Okay.
As in money. Yeah, that was clean.
Today's episode of Seat 14 is sponsored by Honey, the easiest way to save money when shopping on your phone or your computer. Have you been in this position? You're shopping for something online, you get to checkout, and when they ask you for a promo code, you start Googling to try to find a way to save money. Well, thanks to Honey, manually searching for coupon codes is a thing of the past because Honey is a free tool that scours the internet for you and finds one that best fits your cart. Here's how it works. You're shopping, you check out, the Honey button pops up, you click apply coupons, you wait a few seconds, and you watch the price go down. I actually used it over the weekend to order some new material and gear for the podcast. Phenomenal, easy to use. So if you don't already have Honey, you could straight up be missing out. By getting it, you'll be able to do yourself a solid and support this show. I'd never recommend something I don't use, so get Honey for free and join at joinhoney.com/March Madness. That's joinhoney.com/MarchMadness. So, good
First
transition.
live read was a resounding success.
Was it?
Way
I
to
think
go.
I fumbled the words a little bit.
You did fine.
Also, I wasn't prepared. I didn't have it pulled up, and I didn't memorize all that.
Yeah. Words are going to be fumbled when you do a live read. It's all about how you wrap it up at the end, and you did great.
I do appreciate that. Now, speaking of wrapping it up at the end, let's go back to these last two games here. I
kind of spoiled who I'm taking, but
yeah, you did. You're taking Duke, but we got Duke Carolina. I don't know what time the game is.
Which would you have rather seen, the St. Peter's or the Duke UNC matchup?
St. Peter's playing Duke?
Yeah.
I mean, I would have if I could have guaranteed.
Because UNC had already surpassed us for tournament wins at that point, right? I don't think they needed that Elite Eight win to surpass us.
They needed the Final Four to pass us, though. They took the most Final Fours with that win.
Okay. Right.
But they had the most tournament wins.
They had already gotten the most tournament wins,
I believe,
after beating UCLA.
Yeah. I mean, I would have rather seen St. Peter's just because I love the story. I mean, I'm not always going to pull for the Cinderella. A lot of times I will, but I just loved the way that it played out. I thought Kentucky was – you and I both. You thought Kentucky's biggest juggernaut that we were going to run into was going to be Purdue. And St. Peter's beat them. If I'd have told you at the start of this tournament that St. Peter's was going to knock off Purdue, you'd have been more shocked than them knocking off us.
I would have.
Yeah.
Because of that size matchup.
Because of the size. And so I was loving what they were doing. And again, they were reinventing themselves. I was happy to see what they were going to come up with next. I mean,
it would have been interesting. And Kay has his own demons there to face with some recent upsets against Cinderellas. What was it, UMBC?
Yeah. But I will say that the Duke North Carolina game, literally, it's almost like they scripted it. I'm not saying they did, but it's almost like they scripted it. They couldn't have asked for a better marketing campaign than not only Duke North Carolina, but then throw in Kansas and Villanova as well.
Yep.
I mean, you've got a 2 seed in Duke who lost by literally 30 points to North Carolina in Coach K's last homestand. And
God, it was that much, wasn't it?
Yeah, and now North Carolina's coming in as an 8 seed to play them in New Orleans for
probably the hottest team in the country too.
Yeah, that literally has the chance to ruin. I mean, let me say this.
See, this is why I could not have picked St. Peter's.
Let me say this. I'm not a Duke fan or a Coach K fan, but I respect.
You got to
respect what he's done. And if North Carolina beats them at this point and has to send him packing, that rivalry, and he's got to ride off into the sunset with that loss over his head, that's a tall order.
Yeah,
that's a tall order.
I mean,
now
imagine how badly these guys want to retire Coach K, though.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
This is going to be insane.
And they have that surmounting pressure. They're already.
He already put them under a mountain of pressure by making this the retirement tour.
100%.
He already put Paolo and those guys under copious amounts of pressure.
100%. And now they're in the Final Four. They're playing a team that beat them less than a month ago by 30. And
hottest rivalry.
If they get past that, they got another 1 or 2 seed on the other side that are both capable of winning.
This is it, though. This is the national championship game.
No,
Duke UNC.
This is an epic showdown. If this had been,
I care more about this than the national championship
I'm actually
game.
surprised that if they wanted this to happen, that they didn't put them on opposite sides, so it would have been in the national championship game.
Yeah.
But I don't think North Carolina is good enough to beat Villanova or Kansas either. I mean, they can on any given night, but I would pick Villanova or Kansas or Duke.
Villanova's injury is what scares me.
The point guard?
Yeah.
He's playing, though. Oh, you're talking about the kid that tore his Achilles.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's not good. I thought you meant the other kid. He's been playing on a screwed up ankle.
Right. Gillespie has been. No, what's one of their...
And the kid from Arizona had a screwed up ankle, too, the point guard there. But Nova, that injury sucks. That made me sick to see, and that's... you never want that for anybody, but especially a team that's making a tournament run going into the Final Four with a player like that. Really makes you sick to your stomach.
It could help them rally, though.
Yeah. But I would take Villanova, Kansas, or Duke over North Carolina. Whatever North Carolina's draw was for this Final Four, I think all three of those.
You personally want it to have more, or you just think your basketball mind tells you?
My basketball mind tells me North Carolina is not good enough
I like them,
to
man.
pick. I'm not saying they. I won't be shocked if they win. I won't be shocked if they could beat any of them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I'm not going to pick them.
Yeah,
I really
think that's reasonable. I mean, they're by far the lowest seed.
Yeah.
Of the other.
But it's honestly it's less about the seeding. I mean, obviously I'm sitting here staring at the 8 seed against.
I mean, when I look at
1s
that
and a 2,
roster, the only roster I see competing with them is Duke's. Baycott, Manic, Love. That's a damn good 3.
They're good. It's a good 3. It's a good 3. I'm not diminishing North Carolina or what they've done, and they're on fire.
Right.
But I just think those other 3 teams are pretty well built.
Yeah. My power rankings go Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, Villanova.
You think North Carolina is second in this?
I do.
In this current team in this Final Four?
I do.
Wow.
I think I would take them over all the other teams except for Duke.
Wow.
Matchup.
Okay.
I definitely do.
Well,
a
so
big
will
part
that
of
mean
that was
obviously
the
because that's
injury.
why you're saying this is the national championship game.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I feel that way, yeah. And just all the other narratives that surround it are just amazing.
Well, let me ask you this since we're talking about it. My senior year Kentucky team lost to Wisconsin in the Final Four, right? The 38-1 team. Do you think that most non-Kentucky fans remember that game as the championship game? Or do you think that most of them remember that Wisconsin lost to Duke after that?
That's a good question.
Because I think that most people remember that Kentucky team losing to Wisconsin and assume it was the title.
Yeah. There was, especially the casual fans, like the really casual fans.
Yeah.
I mean, that just doesn't happen. The undefeated season just doesn't happen anymore. So, unless you're Wichita State playing in a
Yeah, and we beat.
in a
I was
weak
on that
conference.
14 team that beat Wichita State when they
yeah.
were undefeated. That was
Yeah.
one of the most incredible games I've ever been a part of. That's one of the
I
most
remember
incredible
where I
games I've
was-
ever seen.
Yeah, I remember where I was watching that to this day.
Really?
Yeah.
Where?
I was in my living room with my dad, and we were both super nervous. It was just me and him. And then when Aaron hit that shot, we just shot up out of our seats.
That
we
game
exploded.
was absolutely bizarre. And then you end up with, there was Clay Anthony early on that team. There was
Ron Baker,
Fred
Van
Van Vliet, who's on a ridiculous NBA deal now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Fred's a bucket.
Yeah, that team was extremely talented, and that game was phenomenal. So anyway, Duke, North Carolina, you're going to take Duke. How close will it be?
It's got to be close.
It's literally
We got our Elite Eight was kind of spoiled. There was lots of blowouts in the Elite Eight, not too many close games. That was building up equity for now. These 2 games or these 3 remaining games are going to be awesome.
I cannot wait. Like
That
I
Duke
cannot
UNC
wait.
game is so
I
exciting
know a
for
lot
me.
of people are like, I'm not watching the Final Four. I've said this 100 times. I'm a basketball fan.
Yeah.
Like above all, I'm a basketball fan.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I was hurt. The thought did cross my mind. I was like, I don't even care about any of this anymore.
Well, I'm not going to enjoy watching whatever color blue confetti fall
yeah.
because it's not ours. But I'm going to enjoy the hell out of the games. I'm going to enjoy watching every single play, and I hope that it gives us the show that it's promised to, because again, these 4 programs are incredible. I wish the Cats were there. But again, this should be fuel. Like you said, this should be something that we build
So
on.
I see a Duke-Kansas national championship game. Again, this is all my, like, what would I put my wallet on?
Mm-hmm.
What would I put my money on? I would take Duke, no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
And Kansas over Villanova, and then Duke ultimately to win it. So what about you?
I'm going to take Duke over North Carolina. I think it will literally come down to the wire. I mean, like, the margin's going to be paper thin.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be sweet.
Because it has to be. Not because North Carolina's that good. I think they are. Okay. I think right now they are capable of – they should be a Final Four team the way they're playing.
They're going to compete so hard.
But this is so far beyond basketball. Like, this is –
Imagine having
so
the
many
chance to
things at
retire
play
the
here.
best coach ever.
Exactly. On
Like, that
a
is
win over
unbelievable.
your rival in the Final Four, this game is promised to be unbelievable. So it's going to be
your death rival.
That's what I'm saying.
You want to murder each other.
who beat you by 30 on your home court the day that you're retiring, Coach K. So this is going to be a razor thin margin. I'll take Duke, even though I think Duke is a much better team than they are in the long haul. The stakes are just too high. It's going to be razor thin. And I'm taking Villanova over Kansas.
Yeah. I knew you were taking that.
I really, really like Jay Wright and
We
the way
agree.
that he coaches this
We
team.
agree. I love Jay. That
think
injury is what's keeping
scary.
me away from him.
It's scary, but again, I think they'll rally a little bit. Gillespie is an unbelievable
dog.
Yeah. Him heading up that offense, his ability to shoot, spread the floor, attack. He can be called on to get a bucket whenever you need.
It's almost like point guards who shoot are really important. Who would have thought?
I really, really like him running that offense, and I think that they're gonna throw some things
Duke Nova
at the Jayhawks. I'm gonna go Duke Nova. I can't even say it.
You got to.
I can't.
Well, you literally have to. That's your job. So, we're waiting.
If it can't be our Wildcats, I'm gonna take the other Wildcats.
Dude, the desperation in your voice right now is palpable.
Right. Duke.
Yeah.
And
your money would say Duke. Obviously, we want, preferably we probably
here's the
UNC.
thing that's shocking to me, and I mean this, honestly, this isn't me being a hater. A month ago, before the brackets came out, I said Duke would be an early out. I really thought that they would lose. I thought they would overlook somebody like Kentucky did. Not a 15 seed, maybe not the first round, maybe the second or third round, but I thought that they would overlook somebody in anticipation of getting to one of these blue blood matchups, and that they wouldn't respond well when they get punched in the mouth. I thought that you find a coach or a roster that can throw some things at Paulo, take him out of his game, maybe get him in foul trouble. And I really didn't think that they had the weapons to withstand the heat of this tournament 6 games in a row. With all that's riding on this game and facing what I think is a lesser North Carolina team, again, they're good. Their top 3 guys are great. I think that they better North Carolina, and then it's a downhill battle in the championship game.
Yep. We got to go.
But I think it'll be razor thin too. When I say downhill battle, I mean all right, time to finish the business.
All
time
3
to
of the
finish
rest of these games are going to be dope.
It's going to be like that locker room. If Duke gets past North Carolina on Saturday, Monday night in that locker room before they go out there, it's just going to be they're going to go in for their break to go out to the court and be like, all right, let's finish it.
That's their. That's what I'm saying. That's their championship game. Dude.
Let's finish it. It's
Do you
literally
agree with
going to
me
be.
That's their championship game. If they win that, they've got it.
I know why you're saying
it's in
that.
the bag.
I do, and I don't want to overlook Villanova or Kansas against Duke. They are both phenomenal teams that are capable of winning. But the mantra is written in stone at that point. They are literally going to jog onto that court like we're just here to complete the job.
Yeah.
And that makes me a little sick to my stomach. But
you know what makes me sick to my stomach? We need to go, but I want to leave it with this. This Duke roster reminds me a lot of probably the downside of the Calipari era roster. This one, not at all. Mm-hmm. He got the transfers. He got the shooters on this one. Mm-hmm. So not this one. But most of them prior to between your final season, the 38 in 1 year, and the past year where we didn't make the tournament. This Duke roster reminds me a lot of a Calipari constructed roster.
Why do you say that?
You don't see it, really?
I see it. I just want to know why you're alluding to that. What is it that you're
a lack of shooters, a lack of experience, a whole lot of athleticism, length, immense length. Pause. They have freakish athletes, lots of NBA players, and not a lot of shooting, maybe lacking.
We just said before we started recording, we just said to Cash that whoever wins this national title has got to be able to shoot.
Yeah.
Okay. Respond to that.
It appears that Mike Krzyzewski knows how to use a team with those strengths.
So you're saying that he can capitalize on their strengths enough to shade their weaknesses.
That's what it looks like. Whereas our guy maybe in the past has failed to do so.
I think that these other 3 coaches are capable of exposing those weaknesses. But
possibly.
But
Duke can defend the hell out of you. When they throw that zone at you, because he's not afraid to go zone like a few other guys are.
It's going to be an absolute war, all 3 of these games. But I think they're going to want it too bad. And we actually said this with Cash right before we started recording too. It's going to be who wakes up in the morning and says, you know, I'm an animal today.
Yeah.
And
woke up feeling dangerous.
Yeah. And I think there's just too much. I mean, I can tell you from personal experience that competitive, you know, when you got that competitive juices flowing, imagine the situation reversed. Imagine any Cal team, regardless of really, you know, how the roster's constructed, how the backing of Big Blue Nation would be like, we're going to send this dude out.
Yeah.
You know, like
this is
guy,
basically what we have now is basically the only thing that could come close to that.
Yeah.
If it was Kentucky Duke with a chance to retire K, UNC Duke is basically the best second option that you could possibly have. But Duke's going to win it all, and I'm going to off myself.
You can't say that.
Okay.
It's gonna be a very, very interesting couple of days. Kentucky. I mean, there's no win here for Kentucky. I saw a tweet that said I saw a tweet. I saw a tweet. I saw a tweet that said
I ingested
Kentucky
a tweet.
fans, Big Blue Nation's just hoping for, or Big Blue Nation's pulling for a meteor strike.
Literally.
Yeah, which is
apocalyptic times. That's what we could use.
It's
that way we don't have to deal with this rewriting of history that's about to take place.
Well, regardless, it's going to leave a sour taste in my mouth, obviously. But if I had to pick if I had to pick who, you know, I'd want to win with what's left, obviously I'm going Villanova. Duke would be last on that list. And what you're telling me is that it's going to be an inverse of what we would prefer.
Absolutely.
All right.
Basketball gods don't care about our feelings.
That's
clearly.
True. I think maybe we should do another little mini episode before the championship game.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's next Sunday. Well, the
championship game's Monday. Saturday, Monday.
Okay. Word.
All right. We're going to get out of here. Tough episode to do.
They're all tough now.
Tough episode to do. But let's get through the rest of this tournament, and then we'll announce some pretty cool things that we got cooking for the off season and going into next year. I appreciate you having us here, Brandon.
Shouts out, Brandon.
Yeah, taking care of us on the set, letting us use his equipment today. He's doing us a big favor, so we appreciate you, and we will see you next week. Actually, later this weekend, I guess.
I do.